It says we're live, so
Yay.
we're going to go and start.
Yay!
I'm Joe.
I'm Ashley.
We are Geek to My Nerd, and we are going to be covering Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 and 2 for our To Infinity War and Beyond special.
All right, who do we have joining us so far?
So far in the chat, I've seen Cal and Billy.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us. I know Cal just got back from a long vacation, like a week-long vacation or something like that. That he even did some streams while he was there and stuff like that. Is pretty cool stuff.
Nice.
Pretty cool. We're glad that they're with us. And thank you for joining us as well, Billy, because always nice to have you. Kimber just popped in. Hey, Kimber.
Welcome. Yeah, I was so sad when I got home because I have 2 little Groots in my classroom. It's like, no, I left my class Groots. But we got a couple of Groots back here somewhere. I can't point the right direction because, yeah. But we got a little teenage Groots with us. Mm-hmm. The grossest ones.
Your least favorite Groots?
My least favorite, yes. We'll get into that.
So we should go ahead and get started then, I believe.
Yeah, because I think it's like the longest presentation I ever make, and which is sad because it's only 2 movies.
It is.
But I love Guardians.
Yep.
All right, so going 1 and 2 to Infinity War and Beyond. So, like we always do, we'll do a little overview of the movie, our gripes and our likes, connections to the MCU, Stan Lee cameo, and then like the post-credits stuff. So
that's going to eat up all our time.
Structure hasn't really changed. I did revamp one of the little phase sheet things, so we'll take a look at that when we get there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right, so the first Guardians of the Galaxy was released on August 1st, 2014. We have a cat joining us. You hear our little tib. It was directed by James Gunn. It was the 4th movie in Marvel's second phase. Like the other Guardians, or other movies rather, it opened at number 1 in the box office, and we'll have some fun facts about that in a little bit. And it was budgeted at $170 million and grossed over $700 million. So did pretty well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This was the one that a lot of people were worried about because, like, who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? We don't know. How are they going to make this accessible to everybody? And so this was the dark horse out of all of them.
Tom has joined us, as is Randall. Billy's here still as well, and Cal's here as well. So welcome to everyone. Sorry to mess up your flow there.
Oh, yeah, I'm messing up my flow. I'm good. I get interrupted all the time. All right, so Volume 1 gripes. There weren't really too many, but Glenn Close as like the Nova Prime. What was she called?
Nova Prime.
Okay, wow, I actually got something right that I guessed on. This felt like such stunt casting, and like maybe she wanted to be in the movie because like her nieces or somebody liked Marvel stuff.
And she was good in it.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying she's bad, but it just feels like so out of place.
The thing is, it's not her performance that's a gripe. It's the weirdness of her role. I don't know how to put it. Like, it feels out of place.
And like obviously we can have like high caliber actors and actresses in
Sir
the
Anthony
MCU.
Hopkins is Odin.
Yeah, but it just, I don't know. Something about her as this character really bothered me so much. I would much rather have seen her maybe in a villain role because she's really good at that as well.
Yes. Billy says he remembers when this came out because he had just graduated high school.
Aw.
And Cal thinks it was because of her name, and yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. Like, I was thinking maybe like Odin, Anthony Hopkins was so successful as Odin and all that jazz, they felt they could do that for other actors and actresses as well. I don't know, whatever it is.
I don't know, but that was really the only thing that truly bothered me in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then this one is for you.
Yeah, Ronan is an interesting character, and Lee Pace plays him incredibly well. Like, he is intimidating, and he's just a cool character, but he's just woefully underutilized, and he's just kind of like, I am super excited that he's coming back. That's a weird way to put it, for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, because Captain Marvel is set in the 90s.
Yeah.
So they can kind of reuse some of these characters that have perished.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty cool. That's why I didn't really like list this for myself as a gripe, because I know he's coming back.
And for me, this was literally because I needed to find one.
Yeah.
I felt like I should have something.
Just have something.
And this was literally the only thing.
But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is probably one of my favorite movies, so it was really hard to pick things.
I have one. I have one other gripe I forgot to mention. Not enough Howard.
Oh yeah, not enough Howard. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Enough Howard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then you're probably surprised that I would put this in the like section because if you've watched my episode of Film Therapy, you know the story behind this scene. But I actually do think this is a really powerful scene in the movie that really kind of shows the trauma that young Peter faces. So even though it triggered me at the time, I've watched the film subsequently tons of times, and I'm fine with it. It doesn't hurt me as much as it did in the moment when things were raw.
Well,
with
and
losing my own mother.
This was like 2 months after your mother passed away from.
It was too soon.
From cancer, I believe, as well.
Not the same kind, but
no,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And none of my friends had, like, half of my friends.
We saw this way later than everybody else because of
things. Life. We saw this probably like 3 or 4 weeks after it came out. We contributed to being number one. Contributed to it being number one when it was out.
Yeah.
But none of my friends had warned me. And I gave them so much crap.
Yeah, I remember you're like, I hate you all. Like,
why did you not warn me?
You called them a bad name.
I did.
And I warned my sister though, because I knew she was going to take my nieces to see it. I'm like, okay, heads up.
Just be careful.
Heads up. Heads up. So yeah, I think that's a very powerful scene. All right, I really liked Nebula. These are kind of like all in like weird order because when I found them.
Yeah.
But I really like her. Karen Gillan can kind of be hit or miss in some movies for me. I really loved her in Jumanji. I don't mind her character as much in Doctor Who, but Amy Pond is not my favorite companion.
I think Rory's the better Pond.
I much prefer Rory, but she's a good actress, and just having to like work with all of this makeup and prosthetics and still have this kind of like cold and calculating.
And working through a voice synthesizer or modulator because her voice is modified as well.
So I thought Nebula was a cool character.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the back and forth that she has with her sister Gamora.
It's very good chemistry.
They do have great chemistry. And then like her wanting vengeance and such.
Yep.
I really love all the music from Volume 1.
Oh, man.
This is like one of the soundtracks like immediately like must buy Guardians Volume 1 and play it all the time. Like sometimes we'll play this at school.
Well, it's probably like one of the handful of times where licensed music is used so effectively. It is practically a character in this movie. So it definitely helps characterize
it lets you know like what Peter's mom cared a lot about and what she wanted to pass on to him.
Yeah.
The music that she liked, which is not all from you might think of like a typical thing, like let's just pick things from the 1980s, but there's like a good mix of genres and styles and eras.
Kimber says Karen Gillan's a babe, and Billy agrees. Cal says, fun fact, she's very adept at dance fighting. Nice
pull. But yeah, I thought all the music was very well used, where they would kind of go from like the source to like bringing it out into the broader scope of the
film. Transitions well, and it's good in all. It's perfect for the scenes it's in. It feels like they like literally like this is like a dozen songs James Gunn just really loves, and he wrote a script around it, or whoever wrote the script.
But like they did a good job.
Exactly,
you can do that.
You can, and it's not as good.
This is the good version. I really love this character. I can't remember his name, but the whole
you may know me by another name.
Star-Lord. Who? I love this henchman. I think he's played by oh man, I can't remember the guy's name now. Like Jasmine something. I don't know. I'm not gonna try to butcher someone's name even further, but he's just the best. Who? And then Benicio del Toro as the Collector, which he has a different name as well. I thought he was pretty great.
Korath, and the character's name is Korath, and the actor's name is Jimon Honso. It's DJIMON.
I'm not gonna try to.
I don't
butcher that person's name.
Yeah, that exactly. That's it, Cal. But pronouncing it is not easy for us because we're bad. But yeah,
I practice the pronunciation.
I also really love the Collector. I think he's fantastic in this.
He's very eccentric,
and he's a scumbag. He's a total scumbag because he's keeping people as slaves, and he's threatening their lives
and then when
torturing
they do
them
bad things, he puts them in a box
with little electrodes attached to their heads and stuff.
Yeah, so he's not a good dude.
No,
but I like his portrayal.
He's supposed to be the brother of the Grandmaster, and all of them are like ageless entities. So at some point, he's probably viewing mortals as like not even people.
Yeah, and that would happen.
Yeah.
All right, this whole sequence, and I think some of these are from the trailer where they're getting processed.
Yep.
And then we can see some like little fun facts, like his alias is Star-Lord, and they have that in quotes.
Origin
Terra, 2 legs, 2 arms enhancements. So he has a translator implant in his neck. So that's pretty cool.
That's a good way to go, and it's got a sequencing over there, and
so all sorts of stuff. And then of course he's being a jerk, flipping off the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know how this machine worked.
And then we got little rockets, and then he's like a cybernetic/genetic experiment on a lower life form. Has a tendency to bite.
Kimber's fave.
Yes, and then associates Groot and Lila, so a little nod to the comics and such. And then we have his entire criminal record, theft, escape from incarceration, mercenary activity, arson. So this is definitely
7 counts of mercenary activity, 15 counts of art. Jeez, it's not just that it's an amount, it's like a lot of them.
Yeah, he's definitely one little bad dude. And then we got Groot, a humanoid plant inhabitant of Telunia. I'm not sure how to say that. And his associates are 89P13. I'm guessing that's another
That's Rocket's
criminal record number.
Yeah, that's his thing, because that's what they call him whenever they're going to arrest him too.
And then 3 counts of
GBH.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means. I don't know, and I didn't look it up. And then Gamora, so we see that she's like the last survivor of her people. And then 12 counts of murder on her record.
I feel like that's a little small.
Yeah. And then Drax, this is obviously from the trailer because this was not in the movie. We see that he has 22 counts of murder on his record and also 5 counts of GBH. So I'm wondering what that is. I don't know.
Oh, probably something homicide.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. We'll find that out eventually.
We'll figure that out.
22 counts of murder, though.
Yeah, and he and Groot have that GBH thing in common, so that's interesting. Groot's supposed to be pretty violent in the comics. I really like these 2 characters.
Denarian Day and Saul something. Denarian played by John C. Reilly, and Saul, what's his name, played by Peter Serafinowicz.
Yes.
Yeah, they're fun. They're great. I was tweeting when we were watching this, one of the various times we've watched this over the past week. I think we've watched these more than any of the other Marvel movies in preparation for this episode. I would love, and I know mine is more of a goofy love for this, but I would love for Denarian Day to become the iconic Nova, the one from the comics when it goes to Earth to fight crime or across the galaxy or whatever. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I would love for that to happen, because for him being a comedy actor and for him, still kind of being a light role in this movie, he still has heart. It's surprising, like going from watching something like Talladega Nights or Walk Hard to this. He's a genuine person in this.
Yeah, like he kind of stood out to me too, but his characters seem to fit in better within the scope of the universe versus like Glenn Close as the Nova Prime. I don't know, it fit better. And of course, Peter Serafinowicz is always good in every role that he's in,
whether he's on screen or not,
or whether he's like a bad guy or not, because sometimes he's played some pretty like rude characters.
Well, I mean, he plays minor roles and major roles. He's the voice of Darth Maul. He's also an arms dealer in John Wick 2. He was in an episode of Parks and Recreation around the time they were filming this, where they go to London. So
I wonder why they went there. All right, I really love this scene where Rocket is explaining the plan of how they can escape jail, and he's, he says Groot's part or like the part that Groot does first, and then what Gamora needs to do, what Star-Lord needs to do, but he makes it absolutely clear after Groot has walked away and this brilliant moment of dramatic irony that we absolutely have to get the battery pack last. Otherwise, this whole place is gonna, like, you know,
the security will go off and everything. I love at one point during the scene too, you see Drax in the background looking at Groot doing this, and it's just great.
And he's just kind of biding his time because he's got his own motives. But I just love that Groot is just like, he just wants to be a helper.
He's Rocket's best friend.
Yeah, he's a helper. Sometimes he doesn't think before he helps, but he, at the end of the day, he's the best of the Guardians about, you know, being like a good person. I love this moment where Rocket's yelling at Groot, like, don't drink from the fountain. It wasn't me. I just saw you do it. I just think that they have, like, the best relationship out of all the characters.
And it's interesting, too, because Groot literally only says a total of 5 words in the movie, but usually only 3. And the fact that Bradley Cooper's playing off of it as though he heard something actual. I mean, granted, they probably actually had lines.
Yeah, they probably gave him some fill-in lines to work off of, but still
it sounds so natural, and it's just so perfect.
Yeah, and just like he's got this big dorky friend. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is not how we behave.
My favorite big dorky Groot moment is after he tears apart a bunch of the Necro soldiers aboard the Dark Aster, and he looks back at Peter and Drax, and he's just got this big dumb smile on his face, like, yeah, I helped.
All right, and then just the two of them, not palling around, but, you know, helping each other
during the prison break.
Like, hey, like, I can help you get some height in this situation.
This is one of the iconic scenes from the trailer. On top of them using blue suede, blue suede. But this one, when Rocket grabs the gun, has the oh yeah moment, and then it just cuts to this 360-degree camera spin around them as like Rocket's going crazy shooting stuff and Groot's yelling, and it's beautiful.
It's the best.
It's art.
They're the best.
Let me tell you.
And of course, Yondu with his awesome arrow. And it's so weird to see Yondu with a little fin instead of a big fin. And I love how like Yondu like doesn't quite get things. But he's obviously very good at, you know, being a mercenary kind of character, but like
being a Ravager.
But like no one understands what Rocket is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this rat. It's like he's a raccoon, or Gamora, or not Gamora, but Nebula calls him a fox. It's like he's not a fox. Mm-hmm. And then
he even doesn't like when people call him a raccoon.
Exactly. I was just about to say that. So it's like, no. I don't know. I just really like Yondu. I enjoyed that character. Michael Rooker's always great in any kind of James Gunn production.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of someone in a James Gunn production, do we also have any?
I think I might have a picture later. Okay. I just love all the scenes when they're doing like team up stuff.
Yep.
It always looks really awesome. Even before, like, this is like obviously they have to work together to get their goal.
That's interesting. Billy brings up a good point that Rocket and Groot's relationship is very much Lenny and George from Mice and Men.
Yeah, I could see that. That works. That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah, that's really good, actually.
Yeah, especially because Groot is so big, and then Rocket is little. One of them is clearly the more advanced. I think that Groot's probably smarter than Lenny, but
yeah,
it works.
I also think of Freak the Mighty, which is a book we always read in elementary school, and
that's a good one. But yeah, this whole team up, and then like Drax is like there only because he's got to look out for.
This is like their album cover.
Yeah, like they're about to drop the sickest beats with the leg.
Yeah, about saying Peter's got the leg.
But yeah, they bring Drax along because he's looking out for getting revenge, and he so hates Gamora, and he says like really inappropriate things to her, and she doesn't like that.
I think it's funny too because he says even later when he's trying to speak lovingly and stuff and like trying to show emotion, he still insults her. I don't think he sees some of the things as the way they're supposed to be, because again, he doesn't get things like metaphors.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments where it's like, why would I move my finger in front of his throat? It's like, this is like a symbol. Everybody gets this, and we use that in class sometimes to point out that not everybody gets things metaphorically. And
Tom also brings up Master Blaster from Thunderdome for Rocket and Groot, though I don't think Ashley would get that reference quite as well.
I don't get that as well. No,
I've seen that. I've seen Thunder. It's my favorite Mad Max. of the older Mad
And
Maxes.
here's another one where they're in the Ravager.
Yep,
gear.
Cherry Bomb.
Yeah, that was a perfect song choice. And then just like Peter trying to back on Gamora, and then is this when she makes the pelvic sorcery line? Okay.
And the song playing is "Fooled Around and Fell in Love," and he convinces her to listen to it, and she's like, "Oh!" She yells in his face that the rhythm is pleasing or something like that. The melody is pleasing.
The melody is pleasing, and then she's like, "I'm not gonna fall for your pelvic sorcery."
I know who you are, Quill.
I would imagine he has a reputation.
Or she can see, or she knows people like him.
Yes. Because he's kind of been, we see in the beginning of the movie that he just like forgot there was a random lady in his spaceship.
Also, yes, the great Kevin Bacon.
Oh, yes, the great Kevin Bacon.
Groot with his little fireflies.
Yeah, I thought
fireflies.
It's so beautiful. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that you could make into a painting. And, just Groot with his little whimsical nature.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Groot's whimsical nature, like he sees like a young child, is like, here's a flower for you.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And then this is the best moment of the whole movie that will make me cry still.
Yeah, and it's really, we talked about this even when we first saw it, it's interesting how such a small thing like changing his vocabulary can show like so much growth.
Yeah,
it's not even just for him, but as a group.
Yeah, one pronoun and one auxiliary verb. But that makes such a huge difference in his character, being able to show that like we as a group are one.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's just probably one of the most beautiful moments in the movie. I remember being taken so aback by it when we saw it initially, and it gets me every time.
It's heart-wrenching, but
we are Groot.
Yep.
And that sacrifice. So even a simple character like Groot, like all the characters in this movie grow and change, but I feel like he's definitely the one that you could make the argument has a significant change versus some of the other ones.
Yep.
All right, and then of course the MCU connections. This is the first time that we really get to see a lot of Thanos.
Yeah.
Thanos.
I think this is the first time we've heard him talk. I meant to look this up. There's one other time we hear him talk, and
he talks in one of the end credits for, I think, Avengers. Because I think he's only in the Avengers end credits. Like you see his profile in one of them.
In the first one, it's just his
and then he's
profile.
like going to get up off his chair in the second one.
He goes and gets the gauntlet. I think it's in the second one.
Yeah.
So yeah, this came out before Age of Ultron, I believe.
Yeah, this is the problem with watching them out of order, is the context.
Yeah, a lot of people watch them in order. That probably was a good way to go.
Yeah, we did our own thing. But yeah, Thanos, and of course the Infinity Stones.
He's also something that I didn't notice until later. Upon later viewing, as Thanos is in the ruins of his wrecked starship that Tony blew up with a nuke. Sanctuary. Anywho, but yeah,
they mentioned the Infinity Stones.
This is where we finally like fully learn what all they are, and
because there was some stuff in the after credits. But yeah, we get to know that how devastating they can be, and if a human touches them.
I don't think all of them are nearly that dangerous, but definitely the power gem is really, really risky.
And then, of course, our Stan Lee cameo. He's just some kind of random dude on the Nova.
On Xandar.
Xandar. And then the mid-credits, little Groot dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time Drax looks at him, he's like, I'm going to freeze. Kind of like a Michigan J. Frog situation.
Which carries over later.
And then our post-credits, we get to see the destruction of the Collector's area, and we get to see Howard the Duck and
flipped
Cosmo.
out so much in the theater with this. Like I was like grabbing Ashley's arm.
Yeah, because I was excited too. It was like, I know who Howard the Duck is. Apparently, I used to watch that movie a lot as a kid. I do not remember watching it, but I have seen it as an adult.
I was just so happy.
And of course, like Howard the Duck, and he's very much like
he's salty.
Salty. It kind of makes me think of that Duckman TV show.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Right? Kemper's asking where. Oh, there's TJ. Showed up. Heard Howard the Duck and decided to join in.
Howard the Duck summoned TJ.
Look, if there's anything we can say about the Guardians movies, is they gave us Howard the Duck in the MCU.
Yes.
Even if we don't get much more than that, it's something. I would prefer so much more than that. I would like to see Howard the Duck in the next Doctor Strange movie.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before we move on to the second movie, shall we check in with the chat?
So much has been said. Various things.
Now I have the
Rocket
Howard the Duck song stuck in my head.
Goes, we need his eye, his leg, I forgot which. He needs the leg when they're on the station escaping jail. And he needs the eye when they're planning with the Ravagers. And Peter's like, no, you don't. And he's like, no.
It'll be so funny.
I need it.
Because Rocket's a jerk. But in the coolest way.
They were also bringing up some other stuff when we had the picture of Denarian Day and Saul. Dr. Steve Brule in the Tick. For your health, says Kimber. Apparently, John C. Reilly was in Chicago. I forgot. He was also and Billy says he's the best actor in Kong Skull Island. I am inclined to agree.
Yes.
John Goodman was really good. We just didn't get very much.
Yeah.
And Billy also forgot he was in Gangs of New York. I need to see Gangs of New York.
I've never seen
it's
that one.
On my list of movies I really want to see. Let's see. Apparently, I didn't look that up. Probably Seth Green's best role as Howard the Duck. I didn't know that was Seth Green. I actually thought that was Bradley Cooper just slightly changing his voice because it sounded similar to me.
Oh wow!
I'm fine with that. It was good. It was sassy like Howard. So that's what I want.
Because I don't know who played him in the original movie. Because that was like
so long ago.
It was like a Muppet costume.
Yeah, it was a full costume and stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Kimber's freaking out. We haven't seen Gangs in New York.
I'm sorry. We'll correct that.
We'll probably watch it while we're here.
Yeah, who knows?
So, all in all, Guardians 1.
I love Guardians 1. It's definitely in the top 3 for me for MCU movies.
It is a very tight movie. Like, there is not a moment of this movie that I feel could be done without.
It's fast paced, but it doesn't have like so much action where you feel like an overload. All the songs are great. I love all of the casting choices.
Mm-hmm.
The only gripe I had was so minor it doesn't really count.
It's the same with me. As a matter of fact, like part of my gripe is reason it's a gripe is part of the reason I love it, because we didn't even talk about like the final scene in this movie where it's the dance off.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's so abnormal for a Marvel movie, an action movie, to be like, no, we're gonna have a dance off and distract you. I'm distracting you, Johnny Turd Blossom. From what? And then Rocket's got the freaking nuke launcher.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah, I love.
You said it yourself with Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right, so let's move on.
Moving on to Guardians 2.
All right, so Volume 2 was released in May of last year, still directed by James Gunn, the third movie of the third phase. It also opened at number 1. It had a higher budget of $200 million and also did a little bit better at the box office, breaking at $800 million.
Kimber says that pelvic sorcery. That pose is pretty appropriate to say pelvic sorcery.
He looks like he's going to fall.
He does.
Like, it's a very awkward pose, but I like this poster. It's very
it's reminiscent of was it Saturday Night Fever?
Yeah, and also like the brighter color palette that this movie has. Not that the first Guardians was dark, but
I think they really embraced what Guardians was for this one, because they were like, "This is what it is. We're not sure if it'll work. We're hoping it'll work." But with this one, it's like, okay, we know it's going to work. Let's just jump in.
We can get a little weirder.
Yeah.
So a couple of gripes, like this scene, like when watching it on the TV, looks so fake because nothing in the background moves at all. You can tell that it is just some kind of CGI.
And it's also
composition shot, and it's just so weird. The car is the only thing that's moving. It just looked really weird, like you're in a cutscene of a computer game.
So, side note. James Gunn was asked on Twitter the other day what stuff he's taken from the Guardians movies, like props he kept and stuff. And he kept the power gem and the sphere it was held in from the first one, as well as a version, I don't know exactly which one, but Ego's orange and blue car. He has that as well. I imagine it's a giant prop of some sort.
I don't know, but speaking of this, because they go to the Dairy Queen, and I didn't get a picture of the Dairy Queen, but we went to Retropalooza before this movie came out, and Andre Meadows, also known as the Black Nerd or Black Nerd Comedy, he was doing a panel there, and he had he had already seen the movie.
Yeah, he went to like a screener or something.
Yeah, he was talking about it, and it's like, yeah, there's like a fast food product placement. You guys will never guess what product placement it is. So of course everybody's guessing all sorts of things, and then finally, I think he did reveal,
or someone eventually guessed
it. That it was Dairy Queen, and I'm like, and I kept thinking,
is there going to just be like a space Dairy Queen?
Yeah, like I kept thinking there has to be some kind of stupid space Dairy Queen, and like Rocket and all of them are like loaded up in like Peter's like convertible spaceship or something, and they go to the Dairy Queen in space. I'm so glad that was not the case, because that would have been horrible.
There's a lot of talk on whether or not this one's better or one is better. Tom and TJ like it, but they have dad issues. Tom does say the music in one is better.
Yes, and we're going to get to that.
Yeah. I can agree to an extent. I think they both have their strong points.
I definitely like this one better now that I've watched it a few more times, but I remember leaving the theater going, I'm not so sure about this. I
remember leaving like, it was good. It was really good. It was not as good as the original to me, but it was really good. And I also am in the dad issues camp.
Yeah, me too. And then there was also a video essay that we saw from Lindsay Ellis, and she also had like recently lost her father. So there was a lot of deep connections that she made, and it kind of made me realize some things I hadn't yet. So, and this is definitely one that's good for a rewatch, because you notice like, all of the foreshadowing, especially with Ego. Mm-hmm. The things that he says have a new meaning, and so you get a lot out of it. But this is that initial, I was like unsure, like what do I think? And then speaking of the songs, I felt like the song choices, especially this one, and this is just a random screen grab. It's not necessarily when the song plays, but George Harrison's My Sweet Lord, when they arrive on Ego's planet, sure, it does start off with Peter listening to the song and then transitions out, but it just felt like such an on-the-nose choice.
Like it was forced.
Like so forced. It did not feel like I felt like in the first Guardians, a lot of the song choices just felt very natural. And in this one, particularly with this song, it just felt very, like, I think I was like sighing in the theater, like really. And then so just to kind of represent that the songs to me and to Joe and to some other people weren't as good.
They were still good. It's just I don't know. It felt like there was less deep connection with the music in this one, or what deep connection music there was felt like it was forced to be a deep connection. I don't know.
Yeah, just something off with the music in general. Now there's a lot of great moments with music, mm-hmm. but they don't all hit on like all cylinders.
And we're going to talk about a lot of the great stuff because we have more gripes with Guardians too.
Yeah.
I also think we have a lot of love for this.
Yeah,
movie.
We do. Yeah, so speaking of likes, and this is another music moment which is kind of weird because it's like, as Star-Lord says, Rocket, we really should not worry about listening to music right now. This is really dumb, even for me. And then Groot gets the music to work, and then they play the song, I think it's Mr. Blue Sky.
Mm-hmm. By ELO.
And it's such a great little sequence because it focuses so much on Groot, and you don't really get to see like all of the action. You just see like little Groot dancing around because he's a baby. They had to bring their baby with them to their job, mm-hmm. which is highly not recommended when you're solving crime and saving the galaxy. And each one of them has to kind of like pay attention to him for a moment, and like it hurts. Like Peter gets hurt because of it. Like Gamora has to kind of placate him. And then he stops dancing when Drax is looking at him. Yep. It's just like a great little sequence. It just everybody was laughing.
There's not a lot of like lines or a lot of dialogue in the sequence, but there's enough going on that you can kind of get an idea like where the Guardians are at as a group, how they function as a unit. Like you can look at this and go, they're a family. They're not just like this misfit family characters. Like they're full on like familial unit kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful.
And they're all like a parent
for people in our age group who sometimes have familial units that aren't traditional like blood related family. that are like your friends or your familiar unit. This movie really hits home really well with that.
I agree. All right, let's see what else we got in here. I think I just have like a lot of Groot stuff right now because I just love Groot. Like, he's just eating candy. That's way too much candy for a little Groot. He needs to cut back. But yeah, he's just like so precious. They're like, Groot, put your seatbelt on.
And he's just like, what?
Because Groot does not have the cognitive ability to understand the complex situations they're in yet. Because he's a little baby. And then when the Ravagers, when they're getting revenge,
that Ravager ship.
Yeah, that's just so great because they're making him wear, like, now he's their mascot or whatever, and he's not happy because they're like throwing alcohol on him, and that was not cool. You don't do that to a baby.
Nope,
that's wrong. That's how CPS gets called on you.
Welcome, Mormo. Thank you for joining us. So far, Billy says he thought Drax was probably like the best part. His laugh is great in this, and it's true. I love Drax's evolution as well.
Yes, because it would be wrong for them to make him be like the surly character again. Like, he's obviously gotten over a lot of the issues because he's got his revenge on Ronan, and now he can kind of be a more relaxed guy, and I think that's a good character growth.
TJ brings up Taserface.
Yes, Taserface. What kind of a name is Taserface?
Billy is saying Baby Groot greater than Porgs. Not sure I 100% agree, but it's definitely Porgs a close comparison. Great.
Like, if you could get like Groot and like he could ride a Porg and like they're just like it's a mutual thing, consent and such, I think that would be adorable. Or he's like playing with them. That would be the best. Like a baby Porg and a baby Groot. My heart would be so warmed. And yeah, poor Groot trying to understand
this dangerous explosive device.
Because again, he doesn't have the cognitive ability, and then they don't have the educational training to know how to talk to him.
It's really funny too, because he's like, push this button, but don't push this button. Whatever you do, don't push. He just keeps talking about the button he's not supposed to push.
Exactly, and for so like Groot's a little kid's gonna remember that.
That's the button then.
Yeah, because then when Yondu's trying to talk to him at first to go steal his new fin, it's like, no, you have to talk to him a lot more simply. So Rocket kind of gets it, but again, he doesn't 100% get how you have to talk to a child in such a way that they will get it. Which makes me think of that thing we saw last week tonight about the kids defending themselves in court.
Kimber brings up that one of the members of Mindless Self-Indulgence was one of the main Ravagers. That's interesting. I didn't know that. And Mormo brings up Lloyd Kaufman from Troma was in them. I know he's in the first one because you see him in the kiln. He's one of the prisoners in the kiln, but nice. I didn't realize if he's in this one. Because
James Gunn got his start working for Troma. I think he directed or wrote Tromeo and Juliet, which is really hilarious.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite of the Tromas that I've seen. And then, little Groot, like, again, the whole I want to be a helpful little man. Just runs off to go do his job without fully understanding what he's supposed to do.
He's like, I'll figure it out.
So we can kind of see that even though he's not the same Groot from the first movie, because this is like he's the son of Groot, technically. Yeah. James Gunn talked about that on Twitter.
And has said that like since the movie came out, but it's like people didn't realize it or didn't see it. And
they're like, la la la.
Then he brought it up again like a few months ago. He's like, no, that Groot's gone. This is his kid.
Yeah. This is the son of Groot, and so but he has like some of the same qualities. But I think he's definitely going to have a way different personality when he gets older because look at who his parents are.
Yeah.
And then just that now.
Welcome to the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy. Only he didn't say frickin'.
And then it's like, we're going to have to really work on your language, Groot, like acknowledging that Groot has a problem.
He's a little potty mouth.
Yes, okay. And then the fact that like now the roles are reversed where Rocket is the one that has to hold Groot up on his shoulder, where before it was the opposite. I just think there's like a lot of lovely little moments in the movie like this where we kind of see like the dynamics of the characters shifting and changing and relationships blooming.
Mm-hmm.
Like he finally like lets Drax. Because before he's like mean to Drax, because Drax like broke something, and then he apparently like likes to play in Drax's stuff.
I think he and Drax are also really close as well because they do the whole like Michigan J Frog thing.
Uh-huh.
I think that's their play. That's what they do to play around. That's the impression I get.
But yeah, definitely Groot must have some kind of affection for Drax because he's messing with his stuff. And so usually when you're a little kid, you mess with someone's stuff that you like in like a, not like a mean playground, boys should know better way, but just like, I know, like I looked up to my sister, I messed with her stuff. Like I want to be like her. So I'm going to like play in her stuff and then get in trouble.
If you think about it, he baby Groot, with only having 3 words, displays like something from each one of the other Guardians, because his love of music comes from Peter, which they're all kind of getting. His attitude and his just his demeanor comes from Rocket, and from Gamora it's his wanting to like do things right and be heroic and help and work together as a team. And then from Drax, it's his like, think about it, anything he sees he thinks he can take, he tries to fight. Because what does he do in the opening scene when those lizards show back up? He's like, I'm going to get you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I kind of like that analysis of his character. He's got something from everyone. That's really beautiful. All right. I love Drax. Like, I will get him from the inside. It's like, no. So the skin is the same thickness no matter what point of origin.
I know. I tweeted about this when we were watching both of them, but more like, along with Thor Ragnarok, more than any of the other Marvel movies, like this one feels like it could just be like someone's role-playing game session brought to the screen. Because this, like, for those that have played a lot of tabletop role-playing games, this is a fight in a role-playing game. They're all trying to take this bad guy down, and the barbarian of the group is like, I'm going in, and jumps in with his sword.
And then everyone's like, no, don't.
What did they just do?
We've all been in that game session where it's like, what are you doing? Think for 2 seconds.
Yeah, Cal brings up his line, I've single-handedly defeated the beast. Oh, Drax.
Yeah, just so full of himself. And then I really like the Sovereign, like the color palette for them is so just stark and vibrant, and their personality and their diction is so precise. I like the different way that the characters and aliens and groups speak to each other, because like with the Ravagers, their grammar is very much like stuck in like Shakespearean or medieval times, but like of the lower class people, not the
and I also get like mid 1800s America.
Yeah.
Like it's that, like they're the kind of people that went out California way.
They say what instead of that when they're supposed to. So
I mean, all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, just the different linguistic elements, and then of course they're very precise. I love their little video game. We kind of made a joke like, "Hey, it's Ready Player One," when they're all in their little
pods.
Like the Sixers.
It's the Sixers.
Yes, but this came out before, but I don't remember when the book was written. So who knows what influence what? Well, because obviously the Guardians comic would be before. Anyway, it just made me like, oh look, and he just looks so determined, and they're like, you suck. It's like, well, you all.
Well, like a minute ago, they're like, you could do it. You got this. You can do this. And then he gets blown up. Like, you suck.
And then it's like, well, obviously y'all died too. So why do I suck? And then when they go to the planet where it's like the leisure planet, I don't know what it's called. She can't even step on the ground. She's so prim and proper that she has to have the blue carpet
rolled out for her.
And then it gets stuck, and it's just great. I like her. The High Priestess Aisha. Mm-hmm. She's great. And then, of course, Ego.
Ego is a fantastic villain. This was brought up earlier that Ego is a better villain than Ronan, and I can agree with that because he is a personable villain. Well, he is a villain with meaning to Peter.
Yeah, and everything that he says to Peter has a double meaning.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot exactly how he phrases it, but you're the one thing I didn't get wrong.
Yeah.
He says something like that to him, and like, oh, obviously, this is the best choice he made, but then when you realize that
he's the only one of his progeny that has the spark.
Exactly. So he's the only one that matters to him.
Tom brings up ego equals Walt Disney. Holy crap. So does that make Peter Mickey Mouse?
Oh no. And then I forgot to get like a good picture of him and when they like de-aged him to make him look like early 80s Kurt Russell, because that was just ridiculous.
Yep.
With the feathered hair, and
it wasn't as bad as Jeff Bridges and Tron Legacy.
no, like they've obviously improved the technology, and when they did Tony Stark that way in Civil War, it didn't look that bad either. But Tony Stark didn't have as like much progress to make.
Yeah.
Because he still looks pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kurt Russell definitely does not look like he does in the 80s.
No.
But I thought that was cool. And then I love Mantis. She's definitely my favorite of the additional characters or the add-ons in this. I just picked this because I loved when Rocket was like messing with the Ravagers.
Oh, yeah.
Where he keeps messing with gravity, and this just looks like it would be a painting. Like I would put this on my wall.
Yep.
You know, for like weird moments from Guardians. And then when we learn the truth of like the devastation of him having Yondu bring all of these creatures to him, and none of them
of his progeny.
Yeah, his big plan, just to see how massive, and you just realize how evil this guy really is. But he's so charming.
He is.
And that I think
it's
that's
very handsome, Jack.
It makes a great villain because like, he seems like such a nice guy, but really he's the worst.
He's Peter's dad, so Peter doesn't want to believe this stuff, but that makes it worse. Because he's doing this to his own kids.
Well, it makes a point to Gamora that, like, I finally have a family. It's like, I thought we were your family.
Yep.
And then when he looks like...
was it Zandu Hasselfrau?
Hasselfrau, yeah, because they can never get anything from our world correct. So, yeah, Zardu Hasselfrau, like, you mean... And he had a boat.
He had his magic boat.
He had a magic boat. It's like
a talking car? David Hasselhoff?
Yeah, that guy.
I love that they got him to sing the Guardians Inferno, which it was brought up that it was like one of the best songs on the soundtrack.
I love that song.
Yeah, and Zardu Hasselfrau. Thank you.
Hasselfrau. Close enough. And then
and Kimber brought up Pac-Man as well, and yeah, this was pretty great.
Yeah, because he mentions like all the things that he's gonna make, and so yeah, Pac-Man's the thing that comes to fruition, and they even have the sound effect. It's so great.
Sylvester Stallone as I can't remember the character's name now, but he's one of the other Ravager leaders.
Yeah, when he realizes that this establishment has served Yondu, and it's like, no, like you just like ruined your whole relationship.
There are 100 Ravager clans,
and
you've lost the business of 99 of them by serving one.
That was a pretty powerful moment to just kind of see that, Yondu is like at the bottom of his game. Things are not going so well for him.
Stakar Ogrod or Starhawk, yeah, because that's the other thing is the other Ravager leaders that they introduce in this are also like some of the other Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics. So
I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, when we learn of Mantis's empath powers, and they're making fun of Peter because Peter's in love with Gamora.
Yep.
And then she's like, I've never felt such humor. And so her addiction starts to mimic the people that she's empathic with.
Yep.
I thought that was really cool. And her addiction's very interesting as well. You can tell that
she doesn't talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, that you brought this up, that she was obviously raised in isolation. And I like the relationship that builds between the two of them because he's so mean to her at first, but then...
It's not even that he's mean to her, he's
very honest.
It's like when he talks to Gamora towards the end, where like he says something insulting of Gamora, but then when like somebody tries to threaten Gamora, he's like, no, you don't do that to my friends. So he's very blunt about what he thinks, but he cares. He's in his own weird Draxy way.
And then, yeah, like where he's like, you're ugly, but that's okay because then you'll know who your real friends are.
Because when people like you when you're ugly, they like you because of you.
Yeah, and then the whole like, today I learned that I am ugly and I am a pet. And when she thinks Rocket's a puppy, can I pet your puppy?
You can see the smile on his face.
Yes. And then, like, doesn't she call him like a salty puppy or something? Yeah. Or like an angry puppy?
Angry puppy or mean puppy or something.
Mean puppy, yeah. Poor Rocket. He's never...
Billy brings up the did you make a penis moment?
Oh Lord!
When they meet Ego, that was a pretty great moment.
Yes, there's a reason why it's not in here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to bring it up because it is also a really positive representation of Drax.
Because Drax has no filter.
Yeah,
Drax does not have a filter, and of course, one of the things that Drax talks about with Peter with, it's like she doesn't dance, and you need to find someone like you, some dumb girl
who's pathetic like you.
But obviously,
Drax does want Peter to find happiness.
Yes, and Peter, his goal is Gamora. He likes her.
Yep, it's unspoken.
It's unspoken, and this whole he makes the whole Sam and Diane. She's like, I don't know what Cheers is.
This show wouldn't be like Cheers. It would be like a show that gets no rating. I don't know what any of that is.
Yes, he's getting so mad that obviously,
which makes them very much like Sam and Diane.
Yeah, I'm surprised Peter hasn't found YouTube somehow in the galaxy to show all of his shows. Oh, he's gonna be so excited about Netflix and Hulu when he gets back. And then I like the cool moments of them just walking away to do their little side quests.
But this does show a fractioning, so the scene is used really well because these scenes in the original were all 5 of them together. But in this scene, it's them doing the little slow walk away while Rocket and Groot are left behind with Nebula. And it's pretty great. Good symbolism.
And good use of slow motion as well. Mm-hmm. And then here's another one where we have Yondu and Rocket teaming up, and where they've gotten the new fin, and they're going to get back at all of the Ravagers who had mutinied.
For as much as I like this scene, I'm not a fan of how they put the music in there.
Yeah, like, hey, do you happen to have any of Quill's music downloaded?
Yeah, cloned into the system or something.
Into the system.
It's just like...
Yeah, but I love the song choice that
they
have.
It works really well. I don't know.
Yeah.
That bothered me the way they introduced it.
The intro is not good, but the song choice is great.
Like if Rocket had a clone of it on himself and hooked it into the system, I would have liked that more.
Yeah. And then just the great dynamic between Rocket and Yondu, where it's like, we are the same person. Mm-hmm. You cannot lie to me because you are me.
Yep.
I just like their relationship. And then this moment where, again, it's perfectly timed to the song and just killing everybody with his little whistle.
With his upgraded fin.
Yes, whistle while you murk, I think, was a joke in the Honest trailer.
Nice.
And then, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Is he good? Again, not understanding,
Yondu, you look like Mary Poppins. Is he cool?
Yes.
Yeah, he's cool.
But just not getting our references and not understanding that Mary is a female name and... Just,
yep.
Obviously, he would assume that it's a man because he's a man.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a great little moment. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
And has been one of the big things, that Michael Rooker gets, brought up by fans at get-togethers, meetings, what have you.
And then...
more Kraglin?
Yeah, Kraglin, who is James Gunn's brother, Sean, who you may know as Kirk from Gilmore Girls.
Which that was in the chat a while up.
I like that he, obviously, if you're going to give a character more to do, you're going to give the one more to do that's played by your brother. Mm-hmm. But he does it well, and he feels guilty because he's the one that suggested that things had changed for the worse.
Well, and he was the one defending for a long time because he's the second mate and all sorts of other stuff. But then he finally, in that one moment, he says, no, this isn't right. Peter screws you over all the time, and you can't keep letting him do that.
Yeah, and so the accidental mutiny, and then all his friends get murdered, and so I like that he obviously cared a lot about Yondu and didn't want anything bad to happen to him, and then he kind of joins with Peter in them at the end and calls him captain.
It's interesting too because it's very much like a fatherhood thing. There's so much images of fatherhood in this movie. Because you can almost look at Yondu as not only Peter's dad, but he's a dad to Kraglin too. So all this stuff together is just there's so many layers.
And then here's a moment speaking of Yondu being a father to Peter, and that's the original actor from the first movie.
Oh, Billy brings up them doing the warp 700 jumps.
Yes,
which I brought up in the tweet.
So yeah, him teaching, Peter to be a mercenary, and then we have this moment where Peter's remembering him and his mom before times got bad, listening to music. And then we see Gamora and Nebula
connecting.
So like everybody's kind of like deepening their relationship in this movie, or thinking about times when things were good.
Or in general, it's showing that these people are growing.
Yes, and so we do see a lot of character growth as well. And I love when they prepare Yondu for his send off, and they give him all of his little like knickknacks and tchotchkes, like even the little troll that he kept from when Peter trolled him with the Infinity Stone.
Yep.
And then all the Ravagers come to the funeral.
I love that this scene cuts, like the movie before all the post credits and stuff cuts on Rocket's face as he's realizing that like maybe I don't have to be alone. Such a jerk. If Yondu and I are the same, and Yondu gets this much love from the other Ravager captains, and maybe I don't have to be alone either.
Yeah, because they had realized that Yondu wasn't such a bad guy after all, that he, did not want to sell children to their demise. And so they were honoring him, and so everybody is very touched by this, that he gets all of his colors, as they say, for when you're a Ravager and you go to the next world.
The colors of something will be over your funeral, and
And then our Stan Lee cameo was him as the Watcher.
Well, he's dealing with the Watchers.
He's
talking. He's explaining all of his cameos in the other movies to the Watchers. There's one time I was a delivery man.
Yeah.
But yeah, Billy brings up that he has a Zune now, that Peter has.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that it has 300 songs.
It's got 300 songs on it.
That's what
300.
Yeah, which would be very surprising to somebody from that era who has missed out on all of the technology advancements of Earth. So he's going to be very surprised by a lot of things. So I can't wait to see all of that, and I want to know what songs are on there, because now he has more than the 1980s.
Yeah. He's got at least up to like the early 2000s.
I wonder if he'll not like, because like when you're Peter's reached the age developmentally where you only like the music that you grew up with, so I wonder if he'll hate everything.
But psychologically speaking, he didn't grow up on Earth, so there may be a huge difference in how he thinks.
Yeah.
Beyond other stuff, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, Tom brings up that Rocket's realizing maybe I don't have to die for people to love me. And it's heavy stuff. It's a great movie.
All right, and then our other MCU connections within the Ravager.
Ashley brought this up. She notices. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, he's doing
the planar energy channeling.
Yeah, with the sling ring and such. So,
well, I mean, mystic stuff.
Yeah, mystic stuff. So obviously somebody that's also a master of the mystic arts, as Doctor Strange would say.
Tom wants to see Peter reacting to trap music. It's a trap, Tom.
And then Howard flirting with somebody at the club. Once you go duck, you don't go back.
Or something along those lines. You're out of luck until you go duck.
Yeah, something like that. So, of course.
That's Howard. And he's got a drink just like last time. Because that's Howard.
And then when we see the project coming to fruition and taking over the world, one of the does a quick cut to this car, and that is Peter's grandfather on Earth.
Yep.
It's played by the same actor. They've done some aging makeup to him, but it's the same actor. I looked it up, and that's just like such a quick cut that it's like
it's hard to notice.
Yeah, like you miss it. It's easily missed.
It definitely looks like there was some age up makeup done.
Yes.
Like it's obvious.
Yeah.
So it could be that they kind of tried to make it a little more obvious so you would pay attention.
Yeah, but I think he's kind of like maybe dressed a little similarly. It's hard to see.
He doesn't have the plaid. Tom brings up that Miley Cyrus was Mainframe. Yeah, I noticed that as well. I originally thought that maybe it was the voice of the actress that plays what's her name? From Tales from the Borderlands. Gortys from Tales of the Borderlands. It was not. It was Miley Cyrus. I'm like, oh, interesting.
And in the end credits, we see the Grand Master.
Yep. Over here on the right, under Peter.
Under Peter's. I thought that was cool. And then getting to our credit scenes. This has the most credit scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like the big deal about this, like the 5 credit scenes. So here we see him trying to use the
The
arrow.
He's learning to use
And
it.
he like hits Drax on the butt, I think.
No, in his like collar.
Okay,
Hits him in like the collar.
So that's not gonna go well. We see these. I'm assuming that these are supposed to be the original Guardians.
Yeah, or at least another collection of the Guardians.
And like how they're getting the band back together to do mercenary things.
Apparently, Billy's bringing up Michael Rosenbaum, who is known for playing Lex Luthor in Smallville. Is the crystal-faced dude.
Oh, okay, nice. And then Adam.
Our reference to Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
So, which is awesome.
Yeah, they're birthing a new creature to kill the Guardians.
Yep.
From the Sovereign. Gross teenage Groot with his room so dirty and vines everywhere. He needs to clean his room.
But that's boring. That shouldn't be like that. Oh, never mind.
Sorry.
Nothing.
We're distracted.
Yep.
So yeah, gross teenage Groot doing gross teenage Groot things, playing his little video game. Who even got him that game? Peter.
Yep. That mind-numbing video game.
Groot.
I love this scene though.
It grosses me out because of all the leaves.
And the vines. And
yeah, like his room is so disgusting. Anyway. And then the post-credits.
Which we brought up already.
Yeah, was the Stanley explaining things to the watchers. So...
Yep.
All right, before we move on to some of the other things that I created, let's check back in with the chat.
Let's see. Tom brings up that Michael Rosenbaum is also the voice of the Flash and the Justice League and all that stuff, the animated stuff. Remember the one where he and Lex Luthor switch bodies?
Yes.
I have no idea who this is. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, best Flash. Kimber thinks the Gamora and Nebula stuff was great. Yes, it was, or it was good. It was super great. I love the running gag where she keeps trying to eat the one vegetable or whatever, and everyone's telling her that it's not ripe. And when she finally gets to eat it, she even spits it out. She's like, "It's not ripe."
Yeah, it's like we tried to tell you.
But yeah, the jumps. Kimber bringing up that his name was Fondue. And no, it's Yondu. Yeah, not right.
And then like a raccoon. No, raccoon. I'm not a raccoon.
Trash Panda.
Trash Panda. That was the best one.
I think Kimber brought up Trash Panda as well. Is that good?
So much worse.
So much worse.
Yeah, and then then Ego calls him like a triangle face something.
Triangle face rodent or something like that.
Yep. Everyone's mean to Rocket.
Yep.
All right, so shall we look at numbers and such?
Let's do this. The mathematicals.
All right, so we can see that Guardians 2 has done better than Guardians 1 box office wise, but critically and audience score wise, it did lose some points in both of those areas, and that makes sense based off of all the criticisms that I know, like our friend group has shared. Yes.
Real quick, Mel from the Mel and Paula Show is joining us. Welcome.
Nice.
Thank you for joining us. Tom is bringing this up, and we forgot to mention it in our review as well before we continue on, that the Ego causing the cancer stuff is the most betrayed he's ever felt in an MCU film.
Yes.
I remember it's like one of those things where I kind of expected it, like he was the one behind it, but like I didn't think it was intentional. Like I was thinking like just Ego being there caused it.
So, but no, intentionally planted it. Yes, I remember.
Because I remember we were sitting there. I tried to block
that from my memory.
We were sitting there watching it in the theater. I was just like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, and that's kind of like Peter's turning point of, "Oh, you're a bad dude." So, no.
Drax is notoriously huge turds.
I don't even want to think about that.
They are legendary.
I don't want to think about that.
Anywho.
All right.
So numbers.
All right, and so in our phase sheet,
we're almost full, guys.
Yes, we'll be full with phase 2 until we get to watch Ant-Man, but almost done with phase 1, and we finished out phase 3. And so looking at our numbers, Guardians spent 5 weeks, but that has an asterisk next to it. at number one at the box office, whereas the second one, Volume 2, only spent 2 weeks. And that asterisk, it spent 2 weeks at number one, and then lost to Ninja Turtles for 2 weeks, and then spent another 3 weeks at number one. So this is the only one so far that's climbed back up to number one, whereas Black Panther was consistently number one for its 5 weeks that it was at that spot. And it's still currently in theaters. And so I made a new chart to kind of like compare things more easily. It's not like the coolest looking chart, but I like charts. Charts make me smile. We can kind of see that budget wise, there's a common denominator in each of the phases where 200 million was the highest in phase one that a movie got, and of course it was an Iron Man sequel. It had proven itself. Whereas in phase two,
Civil War is 250.
That's phase three, but 200 million was still the highest. And again, that was a sequel to Iron Man 3, where the other sequels had not really proven themselves. Box office wise, they upped the ante a little, but not too much, kind of hedging their bets. And then phase three, Civil War is the highest so far. With 250 million, and you have to think about the amount of people in that movie. That makes sense that they would have a huge budget because they got to pay everybody, but also effects wise and such. And then it kind of varies between like Doctor Strange. That's not a familiar property to everybody, so they're kind of erring on the side of caution budget wise. Mm-hmm. Thor hadn't really proven itself too much with the Dark World, so probably hedging their bets there.
You gotta look at it too. Like, was it First Avenger, Incredible Hulk, and Thor: Dark World are the lowest rated A's? So it's interesting.
And then it's hard to see, but Black Panther got cut off, but it also has 200 million, and it's at 1.3 billion dollars worldwide. It's over 600 million dollars domestically. So it's definitely the powerhouse of the phase of all the Marvel movies, really.
So far, yeah.
And then the other thing I added to this was I have the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I also added the cinema score, which is totally an audience-based score. You actually had to go to the movie to participate in cinema score, like they hand them out when you exit the theater. And so we can see that the Marvel movies have a pretty solid B+ and above rating. Most of them are rated at A's by the audience. We see, like with Thor, that's our B+. We have a couple of A- with the Incredible Hulk, the First Avenger, Dark World, and then at the bottom it's hard to see, but Black Panther is the only one that has an A+ score. So
nice.
And that's an average of what the audiences vote, F through A+. So pretty solid scores there. And we can see that a few of our movies have broken the $1 billion club. Iron Man 3, Civil War, Black Panther. It's just, kind of interesting to see how these things perform at the box office, because people talk about all the time superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
But I haven't really seen, each one of them keeps...
The numbers are not really showing
the numbers fatigue. Are not showing that fatigue. And of course, you have to adjust for inflation, which these numbers are not adjusted for inflation, but it's not that you're still, I would imagine you'd still see an upward trend. Obviously, things like the Incredible Hulk, Thor, the First Avenger, those performed really low, but those were definitely the Hulk suffering from the previous Hulk movie, Captain America. People probably thinking like that's a big dorky franchise, so why should I give that a chance? Thor, probably the same thing, but Iron Man, even though it wasn't like a super well-known property, it was more well-known than some of these other ones.
Well, and it had initial star power. Like, you're pulling in multi-generational people to watch it because of Robert Downey Jr.
It's true. So I just think it's interesting to see how these movies are still performing, because I know I've seen comments left and right in my own social circles, not including you guys, but just the broader social circle. Like, I'm just going to give one more of those Marvel movies a chance. And it's just interesting because I think that overall they're getting better.
They are.
There's going to be, you can't please everybody, but I think that it's going to be interesting to see what we get.
Post Infinity War, especially.
Yeah. I'm still looking forward to it.
Me too. There's a lot of love for your your charts here.
Yes, I like.
Billy thinks Dan would be proud.
I love charts. Charts are my favorite.
Thomas comparing you to Leslie Knope over here.
I'm very much like a Leslie Knope sometimes.
You're more of a Liz Lemon.
I am more of a Liz Lemon, but they don't have a Liz Lemon one.
So, I believe that's all of our separate material.
Yeah.
So, all in all, how did you feel about Guardians 2? Because we talked about how we felt about Guardians 1.
So, like we said, I think at the top of that part of the review, I liked it a lot better on the rewatches, but initially I was kind of bummed out about it, but now I've kind of seen some new things with it, especially with all of the little foreshadowing that's planted in the movie. I have a new appreciation for Guardians 2, and I kind of actually want to rewatch it right now.
And
also, because it's on Netflix, where the other one you have to, I think we have a disc somewhere, but we couldn't find it.
So we rented it. But it was like a 3-day rental.
Yeah, so
which is pretty unheard of.
Maybe we could just rent both of them, whatever.
Thomas calling you Leslie Lemon.
I mean,
I'm in a similar boat. I still love Guardians 2 a lot. But I still think I like the first one a lot more.
I definitely like the first one more.
The second one I think gives a better message. There's a lot more character growth outside of just Peter and Groot, and it's a lot more long-term character growth. We see better, more logical movements from characters after the events of the first one, and all sorts of other stuff like that. I think where it fails for me is some of the music choices are super off, super forced, and it also feels there was a lot of parts in the movie I just didn't care as much.
There's a huge stretch in the middle of the movie that's very slow paced. I remember thinking that when we left the movie, there's just it kind of drags in the middle and then ramps back up, whereas the first Guardians never drags for me. So
it's just scene. Everything moves really well, but you're not exhausted.
Yeah.
So.
And obviously they're devoting character development to that time, but still, I felt like they could pepper in a few more actiony sequences to kind of, ramp up the tension and such.
Yep.
But overall, they're both good movies. I think this is going to be a pretty solid franchise. I can't wait to see what the Volume 3 entails, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Volume 3. But what are they going to do without Michael Rooker as Yondu? He's supposed to be in every James Gunn movie as a requirement.
They'll have flashbacks.
Flashbacks, yes.
Tom brings up that splitting the party while needed messed with the pacing, and that's ultimately what it was. Is because we jumped from scene to scene, and the jump from scene to scene weirded out the pacing. I can see that. Yeah. So that's it for Guardians for us.
Yeah, I'll be adding more movies to this chart and somehow get it to be smaller so it all shows up.
Yeah, we could probably condense it a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe put a frame around it.
I'll figure something out to make it not look cut off.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and then have to add 2 more movies to this.
Some of those, the first Avenger, looks like it could be narrowed slightly.
Yeah, I'll mess with it.
But
I don't know what happened. Anyway,
thank you for joining us for this continuation of our To Infinity War and Beyond.
Yeah, we got one more of the main episodes left before we get to Infinity War.
Correct.
So next Monday.
If you are not a subscriber already, please click the like, subscribe, share with your friends, your family, your loved ones.
You want to see more charts.
You want to see more charts. And there's a lot of people right now in our chat that are also developers of content. Kingslayer Network, Odd Shape Channel, just in general, tons of people here. Follow all of them. They are fantastic people. Cal builds a network of streamers, and it's just the best stuff ever. Mel and Apollo are here. They have a fantastic channel with lots of video game streaming. We do some video game streaming. We're just too busy to do it right now because of school and such.
School's important.
It sucks so much, though. Mine does.
About to say, I love my school. What are you talking about?
It's exhausting. That kind of sucks, But yes, next week we're going to be back with
Avengers
and
both
Avengers
of them.
2 Age of Ultron.
Yay! I'm excited. It's been a while since I've seen Ultron, so I want to see how my opinion.
I think we've only seen it twice.
Maybe twice, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. For the past 6 weeks, I've been can we watch Avengers? I just really want to watch. I really want to watch that first Avengers.
I love
one.
the first Avengers, but we'll talk more about that when we get there.
Yep. So keep an eye out. You can find me on Twitter at the Spice Must Joe.
You can find me at that_Mrs. Davis. And normally I don't sound like this, but I have a sinus issue. So yay, I sound weird.
Yep.
Hopefully it wasn't too annoying for anybody.
So yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Probably Monday around the same time.
Yeah, Monday around the same time.
Maybe we won't take an hour and a half to do a stream next week.
Hopefully there'll probably be less things that we like because there's not as many Groots. Or any Groots.
Significantly less Groots.
There's no Groots.
Yep.
It's all Groots.
So everyone have a fantastic evening, and thank you for joining us. And we're always really bad at ending these things.
So we should probably just click.
I'm just gonna click it.